Hello classmates and teacher. For a long time now, schools and universities have been fighting against plagiarism. This topic ended up being complicated and confusing for many people, in which many hours of explanation and practice are needed so that especially students understand what is plagiarism and how to avoid it. This evening, Matías, Roberto, and me will explain what is plagiarism, the different types of plagiarism, paraphrasing as a technique to avoid it, and some real-life situations of plagiarism in schools. According to Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, to plagiarize means to steal and pass someone's ideas and words as one's own, to use another's production without crediting the source, to commit literally theft, and to present as new and original an idea or product derived from another source. Why does this happen? Well, because people don't understand that when an original work is created, they become protected by intellectual property, which falls under copyright protection as long as they are recorded in some way, such as a book or a computer file. This is a serious issue. Well, for some time now, plagiarism is considered a crime, therefore can end up in exaggerated fines and even jail time. It's important to mention that images, videos, and music are also part of the copyright protection. Therefore, the misuse of these may also lead to plagiarism. The problem I mentioned before is not that students don't understand what plagiarism is, but that the majority don't understand the seriousness and do not have the habit of citing their work, only if they are told to do so. For example, a bad habit is to just include a bibliography at the end of an assignment. This is not enough credential to avoid plagiarism. Work must be cited, correctly cited, and references must be in the correct format required. Now, my friend Roberto will explain the four most common types of plagiarism, known as direct plagiarism, self-plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, and accidental plagiarism.
Okay, as Andrés said, there are four common types of plagiarism. The first one is the direct plagiarism. This is the transcription word for word of a piece of someone else's work, and not make an attribute to the author and without quotation marks. This type of plagiarism happens to people who don't have the knowledge or are new making official work. People think that they could copy and paste a lot of information, but the correct way is to copy phrases, or the most important part for it, to be understandable. The second one is self-plagiarism. This occurs when a student submits his own previous work or part of it, without permission from the professor or person involved. This happens frequently with college students, using their own previous works and making like a recent one. Next, we have the mosaic plagiarism. This happens when a student copies or paraphrases from a source without using quotation marks. This is frequently when people use synonyms, when they are paraphrasing and keep the same general structure. The last one is the accidental plagiarism. This is when a person omits to cite, put a wrong cite, or make an unintentional paraphrase. Finally, it's important to remind you the importance of these mistakes in life. For example, A friend of mine ended up in a plagiarism problem because one of his group members did copy-paste and didn't cite it correctly, or added quotation marks. His part was correctly cited, but the whole assignment wasn't. You need to make sure every member knows how to cite their works. There are many more examples I can think of, but the idea is to not make these mistakes anymore. Now my friend Matías will talk about paraphrasing as a technique to avoid plagiarism.
Thank you, Roberto. A really useful practice to avoid plagiarism is to paraphrase correctly. Paraphrasing means to write the same thing in our own words. We will take the time to mention and explain some techniques for an excellent use of paraphrasing. The first technique is to change from a clause to a phrase. The difference between a clause and a phrase is that a clause contains a subject and a verb, and a phrase doesn't. The second technique is to change from a quoted speech to an indirect speech. Writing exactly what someone has said is called direct speech or quoted speech. Here, what a person says appears within quotation marks and should be copied word for word. On the other hand, indirect speech does not use quotation marks to enclose what a person said, and it does not have to be written word by word. The third technique is to change from active voice to passive voice. Active voice is whenever the subject performs the verb. For example, the leopard chased the antelope. In this example, the leopard is doing the verb. The opposite will be a passive verb. This is when the subject is not doing the verb. For example, the antelope was chased by the leopard. The last example we will talk about is to replace words with synonyms. This is a really common and easy technique. However, sometimes we can't find a synonym that satisfies us, so we can just replace the word by definition. We consider that plagiarism is critical practice in we consider that paraphrasing is a critical practice in plagiarism because most people can't do it correctly. We think this is mostly due to ignorance and misunderstanding of what really paraphrasing means. For example, most people think that paraphrasing is just changing words from one place to another. However, our purpose on this documentary is that you learn something new and that in a future occasion, one or the combination of these techniques are useful. Thank you.